That was Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin receiving the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine today, kicking off Malaysia's largest immunization program. My name is Cynthia Ng. This is AWANI Tonight. Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin became the first citizen to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech Comirnaty vaccine at the Putrajaya Health Clinic this afternoon. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah and 4 other staff members from the Health Ministry also received the vaccine.
Muhyiddin and others who received the vaccine today will get their second dose on March 17th, 21 days after the first dose.
Tak rasa apa pun. Saya gitu-gitu tunggu dia, tengok dah selesai je. Macam injection biasa. Ini Tan Sri ada kat sini pun okey. Yeah? So don't worry, come forward anytime.
Muhyiddin expressed gratitude after receiving the jab and urged people to sign up for immunization. According to Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, as of 2:45 p.m. today, 465,081 vaccine registrations were received through the MySejahtera app. People can also register online on vaccine.covid.gov.my or call in via a hotline starting March 5th. At the same time, manual registrations will be introduced at government hospitals and clinics on top of outreach programs for rural and remote areas.
Most states in Peninsular Malaysia have started receiving the supply of Pfizer's Comirnaty vaccine today. Here are the expected kick-off dates for the vaccination program in each state. Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation Khairi Jamaluddin, in a press conference after the vaccine launch, said the government will try to vaccinate almost 55,000 teachers before the school term begins in March.
Earlier, the government announced that teachers in the high-risk group and media personnel in the front line are being considered for vaccination under the first phase of the country's immunization program. But the availability of vaccines for teachers would depend on the supply. 1 million vaccine doses had been earmarked for some 500,000 medical and non-medical frontliners under the first phase of the program.
As the vaccination program gets off to a promising start, there is a sense of optimism that COVID-19 can be brought under control and perhaps we may be able to travel again soon. Talks of a vaccine passport, proof of an individual's vaccination status, have been gaining traction as countries around the world look to reopen their borders. Should Malaysia start looking into this idea? We ask health policy specialist Dr. Kor Swee Keng.
At some point in Malaysia's vaccination program, we have to consider immunization passports or vaccination passports to prove that somebody has indeed been vaccinated. But now is not the time. Over the next few weeks, Malaysia needs to focus on a few things for the success of the vaccination program in the short term. For example, vaccine confidence. As another example, ensuring the logistics and the delivery and the implementation of the vaccination program. And thirdly, to ensure that we have adequate supplies for the coming months. These are more important short-term measures to ensure the success of our vaccination program.
Earlier, Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Adam Babar said talks were being held on how to issue COVID-19 passports to those who have received the COVID-19 vaccine.
But at some point, we have to consider vaccination passports. When we get to that point, we have to do things. Firstly, the electronic database to make sure that we accurately capture the people who have indeed been vaccinated in a way that is tamper-proof, fraud-proof, and free from any criminal intent. Number two, we have to truly make sure that this person who has the immunity passport actually has the antibodies needed for you to be protected against COVID. That might mean that we might ask the person to take antibody tests and maybe to repeat a course of vaccination if a repeat or booster dose is necessary. That's the second consideration. And the third consideration for any vaccination passports is to make sure that there is no inequality, there is no discrimination that takes place, and it doesn't have any unintended consequences for the vaccination program. Ultimately, if Malaysia were to restart travel with other countries, then we need to be able to trust that the other countries will have a vaccination passport that is similar to ours, and to ensure that the infrastructure, not just for the vaccination passport, but also the policy framework surrounding immigration, movement restrictions, do they download the MySejahtera app in Malaysia, do they have a pre-approved itinerary, and so on and so forth, are all important considerations in restarting travel in Southeast Asia rather than just relying on vaccinations alone.
The Ministry of Health has listed several groups it deems not suited to receive COVID-19 vaccine. People living with HIV, those breastfeeding or pregnant or planning to have children, as well as cancer patients. That's coming up on Consider This. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has expressed the view that Parliament may convene during the emergency period. However, no date has been specified yet, as the decision will be made by His Majesty based on the advice of the Prime Minister.
Comptroller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said the matter was enshrined in the Emergency Essential Powers Ordinance 2021, which states that Parliament should be called, prorogued and dissolved on a date as deemed appropriate by His Majesty on the advice of the Prime Minister. Therefore, he said the perception by some quarters that the emergency proclamation is preventing Parliament from sitting is inaccurate. Earlier, Al-Sultan Abdullah granted an audience to Dewan Negara President Tan Sri Dr. Rais Yatim and Dewan Rakyat Speaker Dato' Azhar Azizan Harun at Istana Negara. During the audience, His Majesty had emphasized that Malaysia practices the democratic system based on the supremacy of the Constitution principle, and that each branch of the administration, be it the executive, judiciary or legislature, must abide that principle.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Kita kini berada dalam fasa memerangi gelombang ketiga COVID-19. Tanggungjawab dan disiplin mesti berada di tahap yang paling tinggi. Janganlah keluar jika tiada urusan yang penting. Kita mampu meratakan lengkung COVID-19 ini.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Education announced today that students will be allowed to wear everyday clothes for school when it reopens for the 2021 school year. The waiver expires on the 26th of March when the first term holiday begins.
In a statement, the Ministry of Education hopes that the green light will ensure that students come to school for face-to-face learning. It added that the decision was made in response to many inquiries from parents. Although school uniforms are not required till March 26, students, however, must dress appropriately. The ministry had announced schools would reopen in stages beginning next week.
The Kuala Lumpur High Court has extended the order against the deportation of the remaining Myanmar refugees in Malaysia until March 9th. The extension was granted pending its decision on two NGOs' bid for leave to initiate a judicial review in order to stop the deportation of the refugees.
Meanwhile, lawmakers and right groups are calling for an investigation on the prior deportation. On Tuesday, Malaysia's Immigration Department confirmed that 1,086 Myanmar citizens had been repatriated despite a court order granting them an interim stay. Asylum Access Malaysia and Amnesty International Malaysia filed the leave application on Monday, naming the government, the Immigration Director General and the Home Ministry as respondents. The court will deliver its decision on March 9th. It also extended the stay order, barring the remaining 114 detainees from being deported before the next hearing.
Yesterday, we had our conversation with the president of Gerakan, Dr. Dominic Lau, following their inclusion into the ruling Berita National Coalition. In the second part of our interview, we asked Dominic about how Gerakan aims to position itself in the current political landscape.
We strongly believe that the coming general elections is a survival for Gerakan. Even though we are being part of the Berita National, then we always treat that change within the Gerakan is not an option anymore, okay? It's a must that we have to do it. We must change ourselves, or else we will be removed from the arena politics in our country. So that's why I always remind my leaders, don't expect the same and old way that we are doing can achieve the different results. We have to go for the new norm already. So we always believe the value innovations will be part of the directions that we have to move on. But by saying that, I think our actions speaks all itself. So that's why our top Central Working Committee, even though including our Central Committee meeting, always focus to rebuild the party's image by working very, very closely with the rakyat. So as a new member of Berita National, we definitely will assist the Berita National government in combating the COVID-19 and drafting the post-pandemic solutions for the rakyat and for the economy of the country.
On to international news. Myanmar's foreign minister arrives in Thailand for the junta's first diplomatic talks since the military seized power in a coup. A Thai source said the military-appointed minister, Wuna Maungwin, flew into Thailand today for talks on diplomatic efforts led by ASEAN. Meanwhile, demonstrators are not showing signs of slowing down as they took to the streets again today. In Mandalay, armed police blocked the path of anti-coup protesters as they marched in the city. Around 3,000 teachers and students played protest songs and listened to speeches condemning the military coup. Indonesia has taken the lead to steer a path out of the crisis with the help of other Southeast Asian countries, but its plans appear to have faltered after Indonesia's foreign minister cancelled a visit to Myanmar. The World Health Organization delivered first doses of free vaccines under the COVAX initiative to Ghana today. A total of 600,000 doses of AstraZeneca Oxford vaccines produced by the Serum Institute of India arrived at the capital, Accra.
The COVAX initiative, launched by the Vaccine Alliance and WHO in April last year, is a scheme to make vaccines accessible to every country, including those of low income. It aims to deliver 2.3 billion doses by year-end, including 1.8 billion doses to poorer countries at no cost to cover up to 20% of the country's populations.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow.